I want to call the Placer County Planning Commission together for the meeting of Thursday, May 13th, 2021. If everyone could stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Sue, roll call, please.
Yes, good morning. Let's see, Mr. Cannon. Mr. Cannon?
You're muted, Sam. Hold your space bar down. That may unmute you. Have you released him to?
Yeah.
No. Oh, we can hear him now.
Good morning, Mr. Cannon. I'm taking roll.
Sound check, Commissioner Cannon?
Yep.
Yes, we can hear you. We're taking roll. All right. I'm going to ask Mr. DiMattei.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Woodward.
Here.
Mr. Herzog.
Here.
Mr. Sevison is not here at the moment. Mr. Hauge.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. Welcome, everyone. It's important for Placer County to conduct our business to ensure essential services for our citizens. We're doing everything we can to facilitate residents staying at home and physical distancing. We encourage the public to engage in the process. With that in mind, our public comment for this meeting will be offered in person and through a remote virtual process. Citizens who wish to comment today that did not call the reservation line prior to the start of the meetings should be prepared to comment via the Zoom platform. To join virtually online, click on the link on the Planning Commission homepage. Please make sure your microphone is muted. You may also call in using our toll-free numbers to hear the meetings at 888-788-0099 or 877-853-5247. And please enter the webinar ID 977-3439-9314. Please press star 6 to mute yourself. If you would like to make a public comment virtually, please raise your hand with your hand icon at the bottom of the page. If you are calling in, please press star 9 to raise your hand. Please be prepared to speak at the time I open the public comment for the specific item you would like to address, which may include public comment for matters not included on the agenda, a consent item, or a timed item. If attending in person today, we kindly request that once you have commented on your item, return to your seat or leave the hearing room from the exit-only door to accommodate for physical distancing and allow for others to provide in-person public comment. Each commenter is entitled to 3 minutes of comment time. Thank you for your patience as we work to preserve the safety and health of all meeting participants and ensure that each citizen who wishes to comment has the opportunity to do so. So at this time, if the planning director would prepare or give his report.
Great. Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. E.J. Valdi with the Planning Services Division. So just this past Tuesday, the Board of Supervisors adopted the general plan's housing element. The county is the first in the region to adopt the housing element, and this will take us through the year 2029. So congratulations to our housing team, and thank you for your commission's support of the housing element as we went through the process. Some other items coming up at the board. There's been several shifts in board dates, so I just want to, for the public record, read through the tentative dates. AT&T cell tower appeal, that is scheduled for the June 8th board meeting. The Matranga appeal is scheduled for the June 22nd board meeting. And then the Baseline Commercial Center project, which was scheduled for this past Tuesday, was continued. That item was not heard by the board, just a request for continuance, and that's going to be scheduled for, I'm going to look at Chris, July 8th? July 6th. So July 6th is going to be the Baseline Commercial Center project at the board. For Planning Commission, upcoming, we have meetings scheduled for both meetings in June, June 10th and June 24th. The June 10th agenda is fairly light. We have 3 Tahoe subdivision modifications. We are going to do that meeting here in Auburn, though. And then June 24th, we're going to have the first meeting regarding the county's redistricting process. And then we also have several other items on that agenda. So that's all I have for you today, unless there's any questions.
Any questions of the commission? Sam, any questions? All right.
No, but thank you for asking. I just want to make a sound check, make sure you can hear me. I was having a hard time getting on.
We can hear you, Sam.
Okay, 10-4, thank you.
Yeah.
And EJ, I believe the 3 Tahoe submods are on the May 27th meeting.
Oh.
Thank you. That's a big correction. Correct.
So if they're on the May 22nd meeting, is there a meeting in June then? The first meeting in June?
Yeah, so right now we have both meetings in June.
Okay.
Yep.
Keep them on our calendar then.
Yep, there's no break coming up.
All right, thank you. I will now open the public comment for any matters not on the Planning Commission agenda. First of all, anyone in the audience who would like to speak, I see someone. Come on up, state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Mark Sullivan, I'm a Placer County resident in District 1. I'm here as just a follow-up to my wife and my comments from the last Planning Commission meeting regarding ethics in the Commission. I just wanted to read to you a few short excerpts from a website that belongs to a local consulting company, and then give you some background afterwards. So this company claims to do grassroots, grass tops, coalition building. We design unique solutions and transform political landscapes for businesses and associations embroiled in controversy. They also say, great ideas aren't enough. You need trusted allies who will carry your message to the right person at the right time. Experience and savvy are critical to winning allies for your powerful public policy changing legislative goals. And then in the About Us section, about one of their 3 listed principal people in the company, this person has seasoned experience in successful government relations, managing capital and district offices, launching informational issue campaigns, large event planning and management to influence legislative decisions, and shaping public policy and public opinion, all areas Sam has had direct influence on during his years at the legislature. The principal at this consulting company is Sam Cannon, a commissioner here, and the company is Rubicon Consulting Services. The public does not understand how somebody can possibly hold a position or an ownership stake in a company like this and at the same time be a part of your commission and be an unbiased member of the commission. So the public has concerns about Mr. Cannon's ability to operate within the ethical boundaries of your commission, and we just wanted to bring that to your attention. And then I also just wanted to follow up to see, there was some discussion between county council and the commissioners about maybe putting together an ethics course for the commissioners, and so I wanted to follow up to see what was going on with that. And my last question was if my wife's message to Mr. Cannon, who was not there that day, and him owing an apology to the members of District 1 that spoke at the Baseline Commercial Center hearing, and more specifically, Robin Mitz. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Did I see somebody else wanting to speak? If so, come forward. Okay. Nobody in the audience. Sue, is there anyone? Yes. So, Sue, if you'd.
Sandy, go ahead and please state your name.
I have no questions at this time. My hand's not raised to my knowledge.
All right, thank you. Anyone else, Sue? No. All right. With no further comment, public comment for matters not on the agenda is now closed. We will now move on to the consent agenda. Would any commissioner like to remove the one item from the consent agenda item today?
Chair, if I could, I believe there's 2 items on the consent agenda.
Yeah, I think there are. So is there a commissioner who wants to remove either of the items on the calendar for today? Hearing none, is there then anyone in the audience who would like to have one of the consent item removed? Seeing none, then the item, so at this point in time, is there a motion then for the consent calendar agenda?
Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve consent agenda items.
Seconded.
We have a first and a second, Sue. Roll call, please.
I have a first from Mr. Herzog, a second from Mr. Woodward, so a vote from Mr. Cannon, please.
Yes, but I will recuse on the minutes because I was absent for the last meeting.
Thank you. And Mr. DiMattei?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Woodward?
Yes.
Mr. Herzog?
Yes.
Mr. Hauge?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. We are moving on to our first time item, the Ventura at Granite Bay, vesting tentative subdivision map modification. Members of the public may now raise their hands, press star 9 if you're on a phone, to begin queuing in for public comment on this item, which will not begin until the item presentation is complete. Chris Schmidt, supervising planner, will be presenting this item. Chris?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Chris Schmidt, the Planning Services Division. The proposal before you today is an application from Blue Mountain Communities, represented by Mike Harlan, to modify an approved project in the Granite Bay area. The project is located on the south side of Eureka Road, just west of Auburn Folsom Road. Immediately to the east is a mobile home park and a large lot residential on the north side of Eureka Road. To the west along Purdy Lane, and then to the south, Country Court. The project site is 6.11 acres. Split zoning, the northern lot along Eureka Road is residential single-family, combining agriculture, a minimum building site of 40,000 square feet, combining planned residential development of 1 unit per acre. Then the southern portion is a former part of the mobile home park that was sold to the developer, and that zoning is residential multifamily, density limitation of 10 units an acre, combining design scenic corridor. So it's important to note the split zoning, because we'll be talking about that in a bit. A couple photos, mostly grassland in the interior of the site, and a row of trees along the west and the south that'll be preserved. And the picture on the top is looking into the project site from Eureka Road. An existing house, or a house was existing on the site, was just demolished last month. So it is a vacant property. The approved project, 33 single-family detached lots. There was an ADU proposed for Lot 1, which we'll be talking about. The split zoning, the residential single-family, is on Lot 1 along Eureka Road. And then in the rear, the residential multifamily, 32 lots here, covering 4.76 acres. Lot size is about 4,800 square feet to 6,500 square feet. So quite a difference between Lot 1 and the balance of the property because of the split zoning. The timeline for the project was originally approved by the Planning Commission in March 2018. The site was sold to Blue Mountain Communities last November. The previous approval was to expire March 8th of this year. However, the project received an 18-month extension through AB 1561, so the current map expires September 8th, 2022. I mentioned the house on the site was demolished in March, and we expect site work to start any day now. The project, a pre-construction meeting was held yesterday morning. I estimated June 1st, but it could happen at any time. So they're set to go. So the marketing name of the project by Blue Mountain Communities is The Glen. They're proposing 3 floor plans with 3 elevations each. Relatively small homes, 1,800 square feet to about 2,700 square feet, 1- and 2-story options, and 3 to 4 bedrooms. So the original approval for Lot 1 included a couple variances, including the front setback along the project entryway. So it's one lot split by the access road into the subdivision. So 45 feet from back of curb on the east side and 50 feet on the west. So that was a variance approved when the project was approved. Also some side yard setback reductions, 10-foot side setback where 20 foot was normally required. And we'll be dealing with this eastern portion of the site. So the approved plan for Lot 1, the original developer was a custom home builder. He was proposing a single-family home on the western side and then an ADU on the east. So fits snugly within the proposed setbacks. Blue Mountain Communities is more of a production builder. They don't do custom homes per se. They had two goals in mind for this Lot 1. One is to provide park space where none was previously proposed. In general, lots or subdivisions under 50 lots, we don't require on-site parks, and the original applicant did not provide park space. But Blue Mountain Communities sees a need for a nice amenity for future buyers. They also wanted to build one of their standard homes on Lot 1. And with the setbacks, they were really constrained. So they looked at a couple options. This one shows the house backing up to Eureka Road. Not ideal. It's such a prime visibility along Eureka Road. So visitors or drivers by would see the back of the house and then the side of the house. The front of the house would be internal to the site. Not a great look. Also looked at flipping the house. So the front was facing Eureka Road and there'd be a side loading garage. Even this option, they don't meet that setback. So it wouldn't fit. So their proposal is to shift the home to the southeast corner of the Lot 1. And that would cover about 5,000 square feet of space. And the rest of the parcel would be two passive park areas, totaling 30,000 square feet. So the land would be owned by the buyer, future buyer of Lot 1, and then the HOA would maintain the balance through an easement, landscape maintenance easement on top of it. So in order to construct that lot, they do need some changes to the setbacks for Lot 1 on the eastern side. The existing front setback required is 45 feet. Blue Mountain Communities is proposing 12.5 feet to the front of the house or 20 feet to the front of the garage. And then the side setback on the south, existing setback is 30 feet. They're proposing 5 feet, which would match the 5 feet on the other lots in the southern portion of the neighborhood. So really, the reduction here only impacts the future buyer of Lot 2 to the south. And this just shows the model home being planned by Blue Mountain Communities on Lot 1. It'll serve as the sales center for the project. This shows the model home complex, Lot 1, Lot 2, model home, and then parking. We do have the development standard change in the condition of approval to modify the setbacks on the eastern portion of Lot 1. No changes on the west, or they're not proposing homes over there, or any, doesn't necessitate any setback changes on the western portion. We did do an addendum to the mitigated negative declaration, looked at the impact of this modification. Really no change. One could argue that the change is a benefit because of the scenic quality of the park along Eureka Road now. Most of the modification was to the project description because we talked a lot about one main house on Lot 1 and also an ADU, so we cleaned that up. And with that, county staff does recommend you approve the modification to adopt the addendum to the 2018 mitigated neg deck and the mitigation monitoring program prepared for the Ventura Granite Bay project as set forth in attachment E of the staff report. Also approve the Ventura Granite Bay subdivision modification as shown in attachment C of the staff report, subject to the modified conditions of approval contained in attachment D of the staff report packet. And the above are subject to the findings contained in the staff report. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right. At this time, actually, does the applicant have any comments? And then what we can do is have questions of the applicant and the staff.
Okay.
I guess not. So in that case, questions from the commission?
Yeah, I guess, real quick question. Kind of circling back on the ownership, that I guess I kind of missed on that. They indicated that the buyer of the house in Lot 1 will actually own the whole parcels?
Correct. So The model home will be on lot 1. The future buyer owns both sides of the road. So we're not re-subdividing lot 1. It stays one large lot. But the HOA is going to maintain the parkland. So it'll be an easement on lot 1 outside of the roughly 5,000 square feet where the house sits. So it'll be a landscape maintenance easement. I should have noted there is no active park area proposed. It's just trails and a water feature and a gazebo. In the bottom, you can kind of see what that looks like looking into the project site from Eureka Road. So it's a unique arrangement. We didn't want to come back and modify the map, split off that parkland from lot 1. They'll retain ownership. I don't know how it's going to work for tax purposes, but I'll let them figure it out. But yeah, it remains one lot with an easement on top of it.
So does the owner of lot 1, do they have to grant the easement, or is that part of the?
I think it'll be recorded before they sell the lot. So it's not going to be if they agree. It's going to be if you buy it, this is what comes with it.
Okay, thank you.
Sam, I see your hand raised.
Looks like Sandy's hand.
What's that? Oh, that's Sandy Hare's hand. I'm sorry. All right. Other questions from the commission?
I have a question. Why not put the house on the bigger portion of the subdivision's lot and not put it so close to the other house and just make that the park?
I mean, it's probably a good solution. I think the standard floor plan could sit in the setbacks on the western side, but their idea was to maximize the amount of park space. So really the revised lot 1 matches the other 32 lots to the south. So it's similar size, same setbacks, but now you have over 30,000 square feet of park. So staff thought it was a good solution based on the type of home they build.
So Chris, the easement will exist outside of the trail, I'm guessing?
It would be all this colored area.
Not to burst in here, but the planning commission is muted.
What's that? Can you hear the commission now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I can too. This is Commissioner Cannon. Thanks for restoring whatever you did.
All right. Thank you.
But Chris, the square footage of the house is still going to be the same whether they put it to the left side of the driveway or the right side.
Correct. They just build their standard models. They're not proposing anything custom.
So they're not going to lose any square footage whether they move it to the left or right. It's just an easement. It's just a setback problem, right?
It's a setback problem to fit that on the established setbacks on the eastern
That's
side.
Eureka Road to the right of that. Is that correct?
Eureka Road is to the north. So this is the project entryway. The mobile home park is here.
Oh, okay.
These are new lots down here. There is one existing residence over here.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Just to
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, this won't take long, I don't think. Just so I'm certain, go to slide 14. Okay, thank you. So I am absolutely certain here, this really only affects currently unpurchased property.
Correct.
And it is incumbent upon the builder to provide proper marketing and information to anybody who purchases this property. This affects no existing buildings outside of this particular development.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
And I believe the builder's intention is to have the park installed about the same time the model home opens. So it'll be really clear of what's happening on the balance of this lot.
Okay.
All right. If there's no further questions from the commission, let's open the public hearing. And first of all, anyone in the audience who would like to speak? Right. Sue, do we have persons who want to speak online? We did. Oh, okay.
Hi there, my name is Don Whitaker, and Chris's entire presentation was muted. We are a neighbor of the development, and did not hear any of Chris's presentation.
All right. I would say, Clayton, we should probably have Chris prepare his present his presentation again.
Yes, I think that's the proper method, is for Chris to go back over it. Apologies to everyone who's here that has to hear it twice.
Right. Thank you, Chris. If you could.
I'll try to summarize. Chris Schmidt, the Planning Services Division, presenting you the Ventura Granite Bay Subdivision Modification on behalf of Blue Mountain Communities. The project site is on the south side of Eureka Road. Neighboring properties to the east is an existing mobile home park, and then large lot residential on the north side of Eureka Road, also along Purdy Lane to the west and Country Court to the south. Project site is 6.11 acres. Split zoning, residential single family, combining agriculture, minimum building site of 40,000 square feet, combining planned residential development of 1 unit per acre on the northern portion of the site, and then residential multifamily, density limitation of 10 units per acre, combining design scenic corridor on the southern portion. Couple site photos. Top one is looking into the site from Eureka Road, and the bottom one shows the habitat on the central southern portion of the property. The approved project includes 33 detached single-family homes. And previous approved plan also called for 1 ADU, or accessory dwelling unit, on Lot 1, which is at the project entrance. This shows the split zoning on the site, residential single-family on the north along Eureka Road. That one lot is 1.29 acres, split by the project entryway. And then the southern portion with the residential multifamily zoning, 32 lots ranging in size from 4,800 square feet to about 6,600 square feet. So the project was approved in March 2018 by the Planning Commission. The applicant purchased the site from a previous applicant and developer in November of last year. The map was to expire on March 8th, 2021, but was extended by 18 months through the AB 1561 state legislation. Current map expires September 8th, 2022. An existing house on the Eureka Road parcel was demolished in March, and site work is expected to start any day now. The project has been named The Glen for marketing purposes by Blue Mountain Communities. They're proposing 3 floor plans, both 1 and 2 story models, ranging in size from 1,800 square feet to about 2,700 square feet in 3 or 4 bedroom configurations. The approved plan for Lot 1 called for a large single-family home on the western border, on the western side, and an ADU on the east. A couple variances were approved back in 2018 for reduced setbacks along the project entryway, 45 feet from back of curb on the east and 50 feet on the west. Also some side setback changes, 10-foot side setbacks on the southern portion of the western side of the lot, and the eastern side setback on the eastern side of the lot, where 20 foot was normally required. The approved plan for Lot 1 had the 1-story large residence on the west, and then the ADU on the east. Blue Mountain Communities does not build custom homes. They're looking to build one of their standard plans on Lot 1 and also provide park space for the community where none was previously proposed. They did look at a couple options to fit one of their standard homes on the eastern portion of the site. In this layout, the front of the house faced internal to the site with the rear along facing Eureka Road. This did not meet the 45-foot setback. As you can see in the red line, it cuts off a corner. The other option was to flip the house, face it towards Eureka Road, and a garage, a side-loading garage from the project entryway. This also doesn't meet the setback. So the proposal is to shift the home to the southeast corner of the Lot 1 and have the balance of the site be developed as parkland to be maintained by the HOA. So the private area of Lot 1 would be about 5,000 square feet, and total square footage of park area on the balance of the property would be 30,412 square feet. In order to make this change, Blue Mountain Communities is asking for some changes to some setbacks. The front setback along the project entryway, Ventura Street, existing required is 45 feet. They're asking for 12.5 feet to the front of the residence and 20 feet to the front of the garage. then also a side setback reduction from 30 feet required to propose 5 feet. That 5-foot setback would match the side yard setback on lot 2 to the south, and also the 5-foot side setbacks on the remaining lots in the subdivision. This shows the model home proposed for lot 1 and the model home complex, the model home on the left, and parking, temporary parking lot on lot 2. This shows the development standards. We're only changing on the eastern portion of lot 1, so this shows the reduced setbacks, no changes on the western portion. We did do a Sequa review and addendum to the negative declaration, found no additional impacts. And with that, county staff does recommend adoption of the addendum to the 2018 mitigated neg deck and the mitigation monitoring program prepared for the Ventura Granite Bay project as set forth in attachment E of the staff report. Also approved the Ventura Granite Bay subdivision modification as shown in attachment C of the staff report packet, subject to the modified conditions of approval contained in attachment D of the staff report. And the above are subject to the findings contained in the staff report.
Right. And I believe commissioners had questions regarding clarification that lot 1 is owned by the future owner of that house, and that it would be a easement, and the homeowners association would maintain that landscaping on lot 1's property, and that there was discussion by the commission about when, who owns the property and when, and it is indicated since the developer is building the model home, they will own the model home, they will create the easement for the model home, and at such time as the model home is sold, then the owner will basically be knowledgeable of the circumstances under which he's purchasing that property. I think those were the clarification questions of the commission.
And I do see the applicant, Mike Harlan, is joining us via Zoom if he wants to add anything.
I have one more comment.
One more.
Will the setbacks be the same as the existing homes that are behind all this?
They match the
They will
setbacks.
match up, so it'll be 12 feet.
Right. That's what's required on the balance of the site.
Okay. Thank you.
So basically, this site mimics the other lots on that, the remainder of the site.
Correct.
Okay. Would the applicant like to make a statement?
Yes. Good morning, Planning Commission. I'm Michael Harlan with Blue Mountain Communities, and I'd just like to thank staff for their efforts in assisting us to modify this tentative map condition, and as well as with improvement plan approval and final map approval. I must say that the county staff is quite impressive here. They're very accommodating, very helpful to work with. And I'll take any questions from the commission or any of the audience.
Right. First, I wanted to note for the record that Larry Sevenson has been in attendance since the second presentation began. So welcome to the meeting, Larry. Are there any commissioner questions of the applicant? No. If not, any questions from the audience? Seeing none. Okay, let's go back to the Zoom. Sue?
Sandy Harris have her hand up.
No. Well,
Sandy, go ahead and state your name.
maybe so.
This is Sandy Harris. I didn't know my hand was up. It says it's lowered. But anyway, any chance that any of those houses will be one story to accommodate some of the seniors in the community who want to size down?
Yes, in fact, the lot we're talking about, lot number 1, will be a one-story. As I recall, I think we have at least one story. We have another plan that's a 2-story, and another plan that's kind of like a hybrid between a 1-story and a 2-story. But there is definitely a 1-story in this project.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions of the public? On Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Cheryl, please state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, good morning, Cheryl Berkema. I recall when this went to the Planning Commission originally that there were quite a few upset neighbors that were larger lots, and so my concern is going from 30 to 5 feet is rather drastic. Those neighbors were already upset, have not just within the immediate backing up to it, but have all those neighbors been notified? Because they seem to think, besides being right where the in the vicinity of the fire station, there's Eureka at Granite Bay. That neighborhood has been quite impacted with development. There's also another center planned, I don't know how soon, but right on Eureka and Auburn Folsom. And my concern is that Eureka at Granite Bay doesn't have enough parking for guests. They've said, oh, they're going to park in their driveway. Well, we all know if there's any type of event on that corner, that whole corner is going to be a real mess. So my concern is both for traffic and the neighbors' concerns. Have they been notified? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have other comments from Zoom? No? Chris, could you answer that question?
Yeah, so we did the standard 300-foot notification of the project boundaries. It would be the same people that received notification of the original approval. I did get a couple phone calls from neighbors on Purdy Lane who were very vocal when this project first was proposed. Explained to them what was happening. Nothing was happening in their backyards. This only affected lot 1. I should have noted, I don't know if Cheryl heard me, but the side setback reduction on lot 1 really only impacts the future buyer of lot 2. So it'll go from 30 feet to 5 feet on the southern property line here. No changes to the rear setback along the mobile home park. The parking, she references the Eureka project. That is the one under construction at Eureka and Auburn Folsom. Blue Mountain Communities is constructing that currently. Those are duplex homes, duets, and it's parked as required. So it hasn't built out. We don't see a parking problem. We don't foresee a parking problem. Here, there's going to be on-street parking and garage parking and driveway parking. So I think this project is also adequately parked. They certainly meet our parking standards. So just to reiterate, no changes to any of the other lots as far as setbacks go. Those were approved back in 2018. This only affects lot number 1 and really impacts the future buyer lot 2.
Question.
First of all, I don't think we have any more hands raised, so I want to close the public comment period and bring it back to the commission. So if you have a question of staff.
Let me see, I'm just a point of clarification. Lot 2 has basically the same setbacks as lot 1?
Correct. Lot 2 has the same 5-foot side setback. So between these two homes, it'll be 10 feet with the fence.
Any other questions of the commission? All right, thank you, Chris. At this time, any discussion on the part of the commission? And if no discussion, then a motion. I'll accept the motion.
I'm glad to move that, and we read this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So I move that we adopt the addendum to the 2018 Mitigated Negative Declaration and Mitigation Monitoring Program prepared for the Ventura at Granite Bay project as set forth in Attachment E of the staff report packet.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a first and a second. Roll call, please, Sue.
A first from Mr. Woodward, a second from Mr. DiMattei. May I have a vote from Mr. Cannon, please?
Yes.
Mr. DiMattei?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Woodward?
Yes.
Mr. Herzog?
Yes.
Mr. Sevison?
Yes.
Mr. Hauge?
Yes.
Thank you.
I further move that we approve the Ventura at Granite Bay subdivision modification as shown in Attachment C of the staff report packet, subject to the modified conditions of approval contained in Attachment D of the staff report packet.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
First from Mr. Woodward, second from Mr. DiMattei. A vote from Mr. Cannon, please.
Yes.
Mr. DiMattei?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Woodward?
Yes.
Mr. Herzog?
Yes.
Mr. Sevison?
Yes.
Mr. Hauge?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, I believe that's the two motions required. So I'd like to read the statement that the decision of the Planning Commission may be appealed by anyone who appeared at today's hearing and provided comment, or anyone that submitted written comments on the item. An appeal must be filed within 10 days of today's date and shall be accompanied by a filing fee of $619. Okay. The next timed item is a Rancho del Oro Estates vesting tentative subdivision map. Members of the public may now raise their hands, press star 9 if you're calling, to begin queuing in for public comment on this item, which will not begin until the item presentation is complete. Angel Green, Senior Planner, will be presenting the item. Angel?
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Chairman and members of the Commission. Angel Green with the Planning Services Division. Let's see if I remember how to do this. Okay. So the item before you today is a request from the applicant Rob Parrish with Parrish and Associates with a subdivision modification to the approved Rancho del Oro Estates project. The project is located on the north side of Olive Ranch Road, approximately a quarter-mile east of Cabot-Stallman Road in the Granite Bay area. Consists of roughly 119 acres. Miners Ravine is located along the entire northern boundary of the site. We have Lawrence Estates subdivision, which is located to the west, and parcels here range in size of about 1 acre. To the east is the Shadow Oak subdivision, with parcels ranging in size from 1 to 5 acres. And to the south, we have several smaller lots ranging in size from 6,500 square feet to 1 acre. So the site is zoned single-family residential with a combining minimum building site of 42,000 square feet, a density limitation of 0.83 dwelling units to the acre. The Granite Bay Community Plan currently designates the project site as rural low-density residential. Here are a few photographs of the site, which you could see is currently undeveloped and is comprised of mixed oak, woodland, and annual grasslands. But I would provide a few photos here showing the vicinity of the area. And as you can see from the first photograph here, this would be a view from the southwest corner of the project site. So we've got the project site there located to the left. Also a photograph taken at the southeast corner of the site where you can see the project located to the right. So the approved Rancho del Oro project includes 89 single-family residential lots in size, lots ranging in size from 42,000 square feet to approximately 53,000. There are 8 open space lots totaling 19.3 acres. We have 1 common lot, which will contain a sewer lift station. The open space lots are for the purposes of preserving and protecting natural resources on site. This would include Miners Ravine, wetlands, oak woodlands, and wildlife habitat, and also to provide on-site stormwater detention. The frontage improvements along Olive Ranch Road will include a 50-foot wide landscape area, a meandering sidewalk, a combination of an open iron fence with a 3-foot articulated solid wall. There is one exception provided for a few parcels that are located at the entry gates where a 6-foot solid wall would be permitted. Access to the project site will be provided by 2 entry gates provided off of Olive Ranch Road here, and also located there. The Rancho del Oro Estates project was first envisioned as a custom home community where lots would be either sold to individual buyers or to custom home builders, where home designs would be unique to each of the lots. So here's a timeline for the project. As we can see, the project was first approved by the Board of Supervisors in October of 2010. In 2013, we had a subdivision map modification necessary to reduce the on-site private road easements to allow for additional lot grading beyond what was originally anticipated, necessary to improve the overall site drainage and design relative to the roadway and stormwater drainage systems. In 2015, we had a substantial conformance, which allowed for lot layout changes to the approved tentative map for the avoidance of cultural resources. The initial project was approved with an expiration date of October 5th of 2013. There have been a number of extensions of time that have been granted to the project site, bringing the current expiration date to April of 2023. And there is one remaining extension of time available to the applicant. The improvement plans and final map review are currently underway. Staff is currently reviewing those. I do have one correction to the staff report. On page 6, it mentions that the property owner anticipates starting site work in the fall and then recording the final map before the end of the year. And the applicant has informed me that they're hoping to speed that process up, maybe perhaps begin site construction maybe at the end of this month. So that's a goal that they're certainly shooting for. Also anticipating the construction of model homes later this fall.
Alone.
Okay. A little bit of background information for you. So as I shared, the project was originally approved by the Board of Supervisors in 2010. The board also certified the Rancho Del Oro Estates EIR. And the entitlements that were included at that time and approved by the board included a rezone to eliminate the combining ag designation and a planned development designation for the site, while maintaining the density limitation of 0.83 units per acre, consistent with the community plan. Also approved was a vesting tentative subdivision map, allowing for the 89 lots, and then also a variance to allow for entry gates within the 2 entryways off of Olive Ranch Road. So the applicant is requesting approval of a subdivision modification in order to consider pad grading for all of the subdivision's 89 lots during the construction of backbone infrastructure, which would allow for a variety of standard floor plans and pad foundations for each of those lots. When originally approved, the custom home lots were anticipated to be sold to individual buyers or to custom home builders, where roughly about 50% of the lots were anticipated at that time to use a combination of pad foundations and step foundations for those lots and residences. And about 50% were to be anticipated to be constructed during the improvement plan process. The remainder of the lots were anticipated to be pad grading during the building permit issuance, which would come later after the completion of the backbone infrastructure. So under the proposed modification, pad grading by the site contractor would occur in one phase when infrastructure improvements are constructed. Additionally, the pad grading would be contained within the required lot setbacks as originally anticipated for the original project. Here I have some additional details on the pad grading. The modified conceptual grading plan has refined the approved contour grading plan by incorporating approximately 100 foot by 140 feet building pads for the remainder of the lots. Details include location of the contour grading, conceptual driveway locations, and associated grading that would accompany these improvements. The 100 by 140 foot pad represents approximately 29% of each individual residential lot, which would allow for large areas of natural topography and vegetation to remain. Staff determined that the proposed modification would require preparation of an addendum to the certified EIR to evaluate any potential environmental impacts that may result from the modified grading proposal. Additionally, subsequent to the certification of the EIR, the state enacted a number of amendments to Sequa, where the Office of Planning and Research issued new Sequa guidelines concerning the assessment of transportation, energy, and wildfire impacts, which warranted new discussion items to be considered in the addendum. So also included is consideration of the recently adopted Placer County Conservation Plan. So with that, we have the addition in the addendum, which includes a discussion of the use of the vehicle miles travel metric in the transportation sector, discussions regarding the Placer County Conservation Plan, and new resource sections addressing energy and wildfire risk. We've also included additional analysis for grading and oak woodland tree impacts, along with the corresponding mitigation measures. I wanted to touch just briefly on the oak woodland analysis. We did get a number of inquiries and questions, so I wanted to address that, if I may. So under the proposed modification, the lot pad grading by the site contractor, as I mentioned, would occur within one phase and would be contained within the building envelopes. The previously certified EIR included an oak woodland analysis to determine the project's potential impacts to oak woodland communities and to significant trees located on site. To mitigate for oak woodland losses within the development footprint for the approved project, mitigation includes an in lieu payment to mitigate for the oak woodland communities, and that was for roughly 78, almost 79 acres. The project is also required to provide mitigation for each significant oak tree 24 inches in diameter and greater impacted during the subdivision improvements and lot development. And with that, we had estimates of roughly 21 inches that would be impacted as part of the lot development, and then roughly 5.27 acres that would be disturbed during the subdivision improvements. And finally, the mitigation also requires for replanting to replace significant oak trees. So for mitigation purposes, the EIR conservatively assumed that 100% of the significant oak trees located within the building lots would be removed. A revised tree exhibit was provided to accompany the modified contour grading plan, which demonstrates that the proposed project, in order to allow for pad grading during the construction of the backbone infrastructure, would not result in any increase in impacts to this on-site trees, given that the pad grading would occur within the building footprint already considered within the EIR. In addition, the mitigation measure requirements anticipated impacts to 100% of those trees located within the building envelopes. The modification request before you today will require a few changes to the conditions of approval, as noted in your staff report, and I have a few of those just highlighted here. Conditions of approval 12 and 20 would need to be revised to reflect the proposed grading plan. Condition 12 will clarify modifications to address completion of pad grading for all residential lots. Condition 20 to address finished house pad elevations for lots located within the 100 floodplain area. Other refinements to the conditions of approval not related to the project proposal do include revisions to conditions of approval 144 recommended by staff to address public and pedestrian access, which came up during final map review. And last, condition of approval 59 to modify the timing of payment for tree mitigation per the applicant's request. In order to consider the applicant's request to modify condition of approval 59, this would allow for an early lump sum payment of tree mitigation at the time of the improvement plan approval. Modifications to mitigation measure 5-9B will also be necessary to accommodate that request as it relates to the timing of payment. The current condition and mitigation measure defers the payment of tree mitigation on site for significant oak trees to the issuance of each building permit. And so with this request, the applicant is simply asking to make that payment upfront during the approval of improvement plans rather than deferring it to the building permit issuance. So based on the modified, revised conceptual grading plan, considering the revisions to the conditions of approval and mitigation measures, staff has concluded that the proposal would not result in any new significant impacts not previously identified in the EIR, nor would it result in a substantial increase in the magnitude of significant environmental impacts previously identified in the EIR in 2010. And so with that, staff does recommend that your commission take the following actions. First, to adopt the addendum to the 2010 Rancho Del Oro Estates Certified EIR and Mitigation Monitoring Report Program, as set forth in Attachment F of the staff report packet. And second, to approve the Rancho Del Oro Estates Subdivision Map Modification as shown in Attachment D of the staff report packet, subject to the modified conditions of approval contained in Attachment E, both subject to the findings contained in the staff report. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'm realizing I failed to mention and confirm this morning that you did receive some comments that came in late last night. Okay.
Do you have any response to those comments?
I do. I certainly, happy to do that. The first comment came in from Jane Negri, if I'm pronouncing her last name correctly. She had some concerns, three concerns. The first, in my staff report, I failed to identify that the solid wall that's provided in the project description that would be allowed along Olive Ranch Road is limited to 3 feet in solid material. And so there will be, and if I can clarify, that wall will consist of a combination of open iron fence and a 3-foot high solid wall. So I do want to clarify, and she is correct. Her second concern had to do with tree removal, complete tree removal on all parcels. And if I can clarify, I think that there may have been some confusion at one of the previous MAC meetings where we had discussed the mitigation, which addressed 100% of all trees on site. That was a conservative assumption in the EIR, certainly based on the tree analysis that was prepared. There was some uncertainty to the number of trees that could be removed during the development of those custom lots. And so the EIR took a conservative approach, and the applicant agreed that we would just simply assume that 100% of those trees could be removed, but certainly would do their best to retain those. With this modified grading plan, where we now have the pad grades actually shown, it's clear that not all of those trees would be removed. And in fact, many of them would be retained. So to clarify and to address her question, will all of the trees be removed as a result of this proposal? No. In fact, many of them will be retained. There was some question also, she had asked to see some visuals on the fencing of the gated entries. I did provide a copy to her. Unfortunately, I'd hoped to get a copy in my presentation here, but staff does have those visuals. We're currently reviewing those as part of the improvement plan process, and what we're seeing is consistent with what was approved with the project. We will see a 6-foot wall for those parcels that are located adjacent to the entryway gates, but for the remainder of that area along Olive Ranch Road, again, 3-foot solid wall with a iron fence on top.
All right.
The second comment that we received was a question from Amber Beckler. I believe she was going to address, she did not provide me with a statement, but I know that she had some concerns with the rate that was used during the analysis that was done in the EIR when we identified mitigation for the significant oak trees. And if she is available, I can let her speak to that. I don't really have any comment at this time other than what I did share with her is that given that this proposal here is not looking at increasing impacts, in fact, we can see there's a reduction. Staff does not believe that it's necessary to go in and revisit the market rate that was in place at the time that we had determined the level of mitigation that would be necessary for this project. Also, recognizing that the applicant has agreed to mitigate for not just the impacts to the oak woodland communities and to the significant trees, but has agreed to mitigate for the entire acreage of oak woodland communities, so far above what would be required for a project.
Prior to commission questions, does the applicant have anything to say? And then we'll have the commission ask questions of you and the applicant.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Marcus LaDuca, 3200 Douglas Boulevard, on behalf of the applicant and property owner. Thanks for the opportunity to highlight a few of the items with the request before you today. As the staff report and staff presentation thoroughly discussed, the map modification before you is very straightforward. Currently, the approved map allows for pad grading on 42 lots of the subdivision at the time of subdivision improvements, and then the remaining grading on the 47 lots left in the subdivision would come in one at a time, potentially, as homes are built. In other words, 47 separate grading plans in addition to the grading plan for the subdivision improvements and the first 42 lots. Typically, staff and this commission will receive a comprehensive grading plan that will allow you to look at the entire subdivision at one time in terms of the grading, and as opposed to bifurcating that between some lots and then later on it's lot by lot at the staff level. Our project modification that we're proposing before you today is to accomplish just that, give you a comprehensive look at proposed grading for all 89 lots, given the modification of what the type of project this will be. In addition to that, the grading will take place all in one phase. And so looking at the time the construction impacts will take place on site, as well as construction noise from grading will be greatly reduced, because as opposed to happen over many, many years while individual lots are built out, it'll happen at one time. What's more, and as highlighted by Ms. Green relative to some of the comments that came in, the proposed modification allows for a reduced grading impact at the very outset of the project. So the 100 by 140 foot pad elevation or pad grading for each lot reduces the amount of grading that was assumed. When the project EIR was prepared, as the staff report mentioned and as Ms. Green's presentation highlighted, it was assumed that 100% of the oak trees and all the oak woodland would be affected on the site. And so, again, because the grading was not known, you could basically go property line to property line with grading under the assumptions in the EIR and look at the impacts at that point. So the project was required to mitigate in a very worst case point of view, very conservative for oak woodland impacts and significant oak trees on the property. With the amendment before you, we allow that scope to be reduced to that 100 by 140 foot pad that will be on each lot. So you will allow for grading on the individual lots to be able to reduce the impacts on significant oak trees. However, we are not asking to change the mitigation. I've been involved with this project for 15 years. This project was the first in Placer County to ever have 3 levels of mitigation. There was oak woodland mitigation. There was, even though at that time it was a custom home lot project, there was mitigation for significant oak trees removed by subdivision improvements, and then there was an assumption for all the lots that there would be 100% tree take for purposes of looking at what the potential impacts could be, so the commission and ultimately the board could see what is worst case. The mitigation was set. It was set at $100, so it cannot be changed unless the mitigation measure for the EIR changed. It is set in the EIR. And so basically the project was over mitigating. Everyone recognized the project was over mitigating. But that was what was required by the county at the time for this project. And so The only thing we're asking for in terms of a modification, as opposed to the typical, you pay your tree impact, building permit by building permit over several years, this will be done in one fell swoop. So the county will get the mitigation fee, in lieu fee component of the oak tree mitigation at one time to be able to use that for other oak tree preservation in the area. So again, the idea is really to reduce the impacts that are before you. I did want to highlight, there was a comment about the wall on Olive Ranch Road. That was a Board of Supervisors change. And so what you have is for the 4 homes that are adjacent to the gates, they will have a 6-foot masonry wall for privacy purposes. The other 7 lots will have a 3-foot wall and then 3 feet of wrought iron, and the 3-foot wall sits on top of a 3-foot berm. So you actually have, in terms of softening that effect, or the majority of the length of that frontage is a 3-foot berm, heavily landscaped, then a 3-foot wall, and then wrought iron fencing. With that, I will conclude my remarks. Be happy to answer any questions. We ask for your approval today of the request as presented to you by your staff and in the staff report as we are due to begin construction at the end of this month. Our improvement plans are being circulated for signatures right now. So it's been a long process to work through this, but we are now ready to go and start construction on the project. I would ask, Mr. Chairman, if it meets with your approval at the end of the public hearing to address any questions or comments directed to the project.
So at this time, Commission, questions of the staff and applicant? Yes.
I think you answered my question, but I just want to verify it.
Sure.
Okay, when I look at attachment D, it shows several pad graded lots. And then throughout the center of the project, it really doesn't show the pad graded lots. And so I think what you were saying, if I was reading it right, is the ones that don't show a pad graded lot now will be added later.
Correct. They'll be added in our improvement plans process to include the 100-foot by 140-foot pad grade for those lots. So for all lots, all 89 lots. So it's a function of, rather than assuming you're going to grade property line to property line on those lots, which was what was assumed in the EIR, the builder coming forward is proposing a much more limited area of grading for the all 89 lots.
Okay, now I guess what I'm still a little bit confused about is the attachment D, which we're going to reference in our decision, just shows pad graded lots on part of the lots.
Well, there is some leveling of the site you're going to need relative to the just for drainage purposes. There is a bit of a topographical change in the site, but as opposed to the 47 lots that are outside of that area, basically waiting until they come forward with an individual grading plan, they will be restricted to that 100-foot by 140-foot area.
Okay, I guess I'm still a little bit.
So basically, attachment D does not show all the grading that is being proposed at this point in time.
It shows the grading, correct. It shows the individual for the subdivision improvements as that comes forward, and then the grading detail of that pad is shown on the individual lots that are part of the improvement plans.
Which kind of leads to my question, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
If you don't know the grading plan for some of the lots, how can you anticipate and prepay the fee that might occur?
Well, that was the price to be paid at the approval. So as opposed to saying, well, you're going to actually save 50% of all the significant oak trees, we're going to make a worst case assumption to make you pay that. Okay. So basically, the applicant could come forward and say, well, gosh, we're only affecting 25% or 50%. They said, we just want to move forward with what was the deal that was cut in terms of what the 3 levels of mitigation were at the time. That was a lot of work went into that with your staff, an enormous amount of work in our arborist. We said, let's just go forward with that assumption and with the grading proposed on those lots, not just the subdivision and getting the site to actually drain properly, but all the other 47 lots have that pad grading as part of that. Do we think we'll preserve a lot of trees? Yes, we do. And it's just a function of, That was what was required, and so we're going forward with that.
Right. Yeah, I'm still a little bit puzzled by that, so maybe we can come back to attachment B.
It's up
Well,
on
and
the
I could
screen.
just add, because this was a question that I had for the engineering team. Unfortunately, in your staff report, it doesn't show the color, but if you can see here, there are some areas that are shown in blue. And these are the areas that were already approved for contour grading. And so we essentially already have approval here that the county has acknowledged for these lots that are shown in blue, many of them not showing where those pad gradings would occur. And so when this exhibit was prepared by the applicant's team, they did not want to make any revisions at this time where there's already approved contour grading. But my understanding is that we would still see a combination of some pad grading within this location.
So those are going to be, the blue area is going to be pad graded too?
Correct.
Okay, it's not contour graded?
Well, it is approved for contour grading, but you can see there would be at some time, there would be pad foundations that would come in when that information's known. So right now, this application is addressing only those areas that were not already approved for contour grading. And so the exhibit here is a modification to the contour grading plan that was approved. And within these areas that were not previously addressed, which are the areas shown in white where you do see the pad grading, this is the pad grading that was not originally anticipated.
Okay, so there's what, 79 lots in the subdivision?
89.
89? And so I think I heard all 89 lots are going to be pad graded?
Correct.
And so, I don't know, I'm confused. We're saying that there's approval for contour grading, but it's not going to happen, or it is?
So my understanding is the applicant wants to move forward with the contour grading areas that have already been approved. This modification would allow for the contour grading in the remaining areas with the pad foundations. To your question as to why are the pads not located here in these areas that have already been approved, that was a question that I had for myself for the team, but they did not want to make those modifications at this time. They didn't necessarily want to touch what's already been approved for contour grading. And do you want to expand on
If
that?
I could, Mr. Chairman, you still need contour grading on the site to make the site work from a drainage perspective. Individual pads of 100 by 140 feet on individual lots will not address overall drainage requirements on the site. So there still is a portion of the site that needs to be contour graded. That we were not changing for under the existing approvals. It was just a function of looking at those additional ones, and as opposed to assuming property line to property line grading impacts, the idea was to limit the grading to show at one time at the very outset of the project, so the commission would have that at the outset of the project to know when this one phase comes over, what are you grading in terms of pads for those other 47 lots?
Okay, I think you might have just answered my second question, too.
Okay.
Okay, what I remember about this parcel was there's an ephemeral draw or drainage that kind of runs diagonally through it. And I guess what you're saying is to address the drainage in that draw and build the houses, and you're going to have to do some contour grading.
Correct.
Is that correct?
We, the 404 permit process for this project took 9 years. So it addressed any wetland impacts on the site, also cultural resources on the site. That's been the delay. Builders in the post-2008 world don't buy projects that don't have their federal and state approvals. They said, come back and talk to us when you're done. As the staff report noted in the presentation, there had to be a modification as we went through that process to the open space area to increase the areas of open space to protect cultural resources. And some of those cannot be, are not public because of the desire to protect the resources from people that, if they know that there's a certain cultural resource or archaeological resource, might be enticed to go in there and relieve the site of them. So as that went forward, we get to a point now where we have a 404 permit. We can then market the site. But but the 404 permit included both the cultural resource component and wetlands through the site, other than the drainage there that's shown to the southwest corner that's being preserved. And a bridge is going over that.
Okay, I think I'm getting close.
Okay.
Almost there.
Okay.
All right. Other questions from the commission?
I have a question about the fee. It says it was $213,000. It was redlined out. We know what that fee is going to be that you guys want to prepay for the mitigation of the trees?
It's the same.
Okay.
It's just being paid in one lump sum. The way it was going to be was there was a small portion, very small portion paid with subdivision improvements, significant oak trees which we could identify with the roads and the pump station, those kind of things on the site. Everything else was going to be lot by lot at building permit, and it was going to total up to $213,100 because that was assuming 100% of the significant oak trees on the property be removed. And that's not going to be the case, but at this point, there'd be an awful lot of work to try to get that to a number that we know exactly that, we're only affecting not 69 significant oak trees, but 30 significant oak trees or 15. There's an awful lot of work that would be involved in that at this point, and the decision was to move forward with the project and the revising improvement plans.
And so just to pay the $213, is that
correct? At one fell swoop.
It's redlined out, so I didn't know if that was just crossed out because it's not being paid at that price. Or
Well, there's other fees that will need to be paid to address the Oak Woodland community impact and the fee.
Probably come up to the mic.
Okay. You answered my question.
Okay. All right. Other questions of the commission? Seeing none, it's time to open.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. It's time to open the public hearing on this item. Anyone in the audience who wishes to speak, please come forward, state your name. You have 3 minutes.
Lori Lewis. I don't live in this neighborhood. I was raised in that neighborhood. I find it ironic, I'm not here today for this topic, but I find it ironic that we have a tree ordinance that we can sell and we can steal and determine what's a native oak and what's not important. It's very disheartening for me to hear the developers say they wanted to wipe out the trees, but now they're going to leave 30% of them. I thought we had a tree ordinance that was supposed to protect certain diameter trees. But I guess if you have enough money, you just buy it and you put in a mulberry tree. We're going to look like any other community when we lose our oak trees. We're in a drought. Oak trees are drought-resistant trees. You're going to go in and take them all out. You're going to put in lawns, mulberry trees. Where are we going to get the water, folks? Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Seeing none, Sue, do we have any raised? Yes. So, Sue, I'll let you take control.
Amber, please state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Amber Beckler, and I live in Granite Bay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Before I get started, I would just like to request that my public testimony be included in the meeting minutes, and I'll email my narrative to the clerk because I did receive clarification on some of my questions after 5 last night. I also wanted to do a quick shout out to the planning staff for being very responsive to my questions, so thank you. My concern is that the mitigation fee rates for tree and oak woodland impact are not sufficient to appropriately mitigate the impact of this project. The tree mitigation fee rates were set over 10 years ago, and I suspect that other costs for this project are based on more current values in today's market. In reviewing the Rancho Del Oro subdivision project modification and the original EIR, even though the proposal shows that the pad grading would likely reduce the impact on oak woodland and significant trees, it's not clear on the exhibit. Also, it only shows the significant oak tree cost, not the cost of the oak woodland impact, so you have to look back to the EIR. My issue is that the mitigation rates for the oak woodland and significant trees was negotiated and set based on Placer County's 2007 tree impact schedule. It's commonly known in 2021 the many values of oak trees. 1, the carbon sequestration ability of trees to improve air quality. 2, drought tolerance, needing less water and fire adaptation compared to traditional ornamental landscape trees. 3, people value the aesthetics of native mature trees. and fourth, the significant value of oak woodland for its ecological service and habitat value to numerous wildlife in the area, all of which is also part of the fabric of what makes Granite Bay an attractive community. Based on land trust management costs for conservation easements, they are higher in today's market than what is included in the original negotiated fees. And I know personally the property values of oak woodland, if you acquire them, are higher in today's economy than what is accounted for. In addition, the value of an inch of a significant oak is much greater than $100 based on today's clear understanding of the value of oak trees, as I mentioned earlier. In addition, because this project does not participate in the PCCP or the conservation program, and because of the major impacts to the Granite Bay wildlife corridor along Miners Ravine and the oak woodland on the west and east side of the property, the mitigation fees should be earmarked to support acquisition and or land trust conservation in Granite Bay. And actually, there's a subcommittee formed within the Granite Bay MAC that is actively looking into remaining large parcels. In addition, I request that the CC&Rs prevent extensive oak tree removal to preserve the goals of the Granite Bay Community Plan. So in closing, with the changes in the last decade, it seems reasonable to reassess the mitigation fee rates for oak woodland and significant tree impacts to be commensurate and ensure the value of those resources in today's market are being accounted for. Second, the mitigation dollars are earmarked
your 3
within
minutes.
Granite Bay.
Your 3 minutes is up, so thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you.
Do we have other comments on the Zoom? Okay.
Jeff, please state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hi there, my name is Jeff, a neighboring property owner. My question is, with this new modification of pad grading for all lots, some of these newly added lots contain very large granite rock outcroppings. I know the ones right along our border do especially. Are these large rock outcroppings to be leveled? And if so, what type of equipment would be used? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Other comments? Okay.
Mr. Smith, please state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Richard Smith, and I'm an adjacent property owner.
Can you speak up, please?
My name is Richard Smith, and I'm a adjacent property owner. I am very concerned over this project that you have here, especially the unfinished project, using a environmental impact return report over 11 years. Ridiculous. It should be an updated one. The attorney had mentioned that 50% were paid as far as the trees go. It could be 25%. Well, yeah, it could flip the other way. It could be 75%. We have an issue here where you have a project that is 50% to be graded, right, and the other 50% somewhere down the line. Well, that sounds to me like the planning department is 50% complete with this project. It needs to be more scrutinized. In my opinion, in other projects that I've seen and been involved with, typically, right, they sell all the lots, right, before they issue a building permit. Not let them build half and somewhere down the line they're going to grade half and what have you. That really doesn't work, because then you have issues between the homeowners about your drainage is going into my lot and blah, 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 especially when you start taking out trees. So I wish you'd reconsider this project, bring it up to date. I like the idea of having the project, right? I'm sorry?
Continue. There's some, I'm sorry, there's some noise in the
I
background.
like the idea of having the project because that conforms with the Granite Bay idea, but, right, I don't want a half-finished project sitting with issues of homeowners fighting and what have you. On top of that, out of the 24 people that I talked to about this project, about the letter we received, 4, actually only 4, received the letter. And I went door to door. And I will admit that I've been negligent on following this project. I figured the planning department had it in its way, but now I'm going to be looking more tightly on this project. I thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Next, I see we have some more hands.
Cheryl, please state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Berkema. I'm a Granite Bay resident. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. I have a couple concerns. I'd like to echo basically what everyone here has said. This project was approved in 2010 from Angel Slides. Excellent presentation, by the way. In 2013, from 2013 to 2021, we have a housing element. There's the EIR is being modified to include developer/applicant benefits. However, it doesn't include other elements that belong in an EIR, which one of is addressing housing. My second concern about the project approval is state law does not allow for retroactive extensions. This project was granted extensions beyond what is available by state law. So I have a concern about how that happened and why it should be able to happen. The impacts are, as people mentioned, you're using out-of-date fee mitigations for many things. There's no housing fees in there. In the Ventura project, there was an ecologist that actually produced something that stated that this area in Placer County has the lowest tree mitigation fees, and they've been kept artificially low. That's actually stealing from taxpayers. We not only is it the aesthetics and the migration of wildlife and just living in this beautiful area, but you're actually taking money out of taxpayers' hands by not putting it into the general fund. I think that the neighbors should have all been notified in that area. And I think that I would ask the director why Shauna Purvines is not here advocating for at minimum in lieu housing fees. And I think there should actually be on-site housing for this project. So it seems like this project is straddling the line between old laws that don't exist anymore. If the EIR is updated, it should be updated completely, not just for things that are convenient to the developer. I hope you'll take that into consideration. I know the housing and community development with the state has already been, this project's been mentioned, and I think it should be pursued actually because the 89 lots should have 10% dedicated to affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Eric, please state your name for the record and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Eric Flo. I live across the street from the project on the south side of Olive Ranch. And I just wanted to say that I look forward to this project going in. It looks like a good project. I believe the developer is going to keep as many trees as possible. They're going to raise the resale value. So I just want to say I'm for the project. And people keep complaining about tree fees and things, maybe for future projects going forward, but I don't see how they can retroactively raise the fees for a development that's already been approved. So that's all I have to say. I look forward to this project being built. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Mr. Garabedian, please state your name. You'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Garabedian, Placer County Tomorrow. I just tuned into the meeting, so I didn't hear the staff report. I believe this is a project I looked at some years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I'm not sure. And at that time, the concern I had was about the wetland or design of the redesign, reshaping of the waterway, the wetland area. I'm going to have to renew my familiarity with the project. If it is the one I'm thinking of, and I'm not positive, but I want to go on record here to at least raise that issue for further reference, if necessary, about my concern about the wetland impacts, the design of the drainage and stormwater area. Thank you for allowing me to do this. If this project comes back or stays with you, I will bring more detail. If not, I will self-correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have other raised hands, Sue? What's that? That's it. All right. With that, I'm going to close the public hearing. At this time, Angel, if you could answer the question. Whoops.
Two more hands just.
I'm sorry. Two more hands just came up. We will reopen the public hearing and take on two more.
Sandy, please state your name for the record.
My name is Richard Smith. Hello?
Mr. Smith, you've already commented?
Yes, I just wanted to say one other statement, if I may.
I believe you've already had your 3 minutes.
With the new
Do you want to allow him another?
I'm sorry.
He's already commented and he's asking.
No, I think we've had the comments, so thank you. Anyone else?
Keeps popping up and then she comes back.
Right. There's an error going on.
Yeah. I believe that's it.
Okay. We will now close the public hearing and ask for the staff and the applicant to respond to questions appropriately.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, Marcus LaDuca again on behalf of the applicant. I just want to address a few of the comments that came up in the hearing. Relative to the comment about that the fees are inadequate, the mitigation fees, again, those are set in the EIR and the mitigation measure. But again, in essence, the over mitigation, let's say it's only 50% of that. So even if you increase the fees by 50%, you have a wash. Because again, we over mitigated. We mitigated assuming every significant tree was removed, which in retrospect may not have been the best way to do it, but when a custom lot subdivision, we didn't know. On the comment regarding CC&Rs to prohibit people from removing trees, well, it's a long, having lived in Placer County for the last up to number of years, every homeowner, you buy your house and you have your lot, you have a right to do it on your property what you wish. This would make it the only subdivision anywhere that people say you cannot do something if you're going to put in a pool or if you want to have a grass area, that you then can't remove trees because it's in the CC&Rs. So I would urge you not to look at that issue simply because that would be what no one, including no one on this panel, has as a restriction in their CC&Rs, that you are prohibited from affecting your own property once you buy your house. That has never been done, to my knowledge, and I've been working here for the past 32 years here in Placer County. On the issue about the PCCP, again, we have our own 404 permit. There was a comment about wildlife corridors aren't being preserved. If you look at the rear of this project, what's called Lot H, which expanded in size, that's all preserved. It's going to be under conservation easement. So that is part, again, of the requirements from federal and state agencies. So that corridor, which in 50 years ago, if people built a house and they're on the Miners Ravine, they aren't protecting that necessarily. They're doing whatever they want in their have done whatever they want in their lot, this will be preserved. This area for wildlife migration will be preserved in lot number H. The comment about updating EIR, that's not, Sequa doesn't provide for that, never has, and it's 52 years of existence. That's what the addendum process is. That's exactly what it is, looking at an EIR, see what needs to be updated if there is information, but that's what the document you have before you that was prepared by the county's consultant. Finally, there was a comment, again, I'm not sure what the comment was relative to, someone was saying, well, you're pushing things down the line to provide for mitigation or impacts. That's what the existing project is. We're revising it so that you know up front with the grading that will take place at one time in one phase, as opposed to over many years that custom homes might be built. So I just want to make sure that got clarified also. With that, I'd be happy to answer any other questions for the commission.
All right. At this time, what's that?
Yeah, there's.
Yeah, thank you.
That guy's question.
Most of the granite outcroppings are in open space. That was part of what we were looking at as part of the 404 permit process, and a large percentage of that is in open space lots. And we can't get into detail at the hearing on exactly what the cultural resources are, but there are that's part of that grouping. For example, the in the northern part of the site on Lot H.
All right.
So there are probably some rock outcroppings, to answer his question, may be removed for.
Yeah, there may be some as part of the lots. I mean, having been on a large lot that had a rock outcropping, that's typically a huge sales point for a property owner, and you typically try to preserve it and work around it because that is an amenity for the lot. It's typically you'll get some lot premiums for rock outcroppings in someone's yard, especially on the size of these lots, which are at least an acre.
To also clarify, he did ask what kind of equipment would be used. I'm sure they don't have to be dynamite outed, probably just a regular excavator. To clarify his question.
Rock splitting would be if some are removed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other questions of the commission? If not, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And we bring it back to the commission for discussion. If no discussion, then a motion, please. And could you put the motions back up on the screen? Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion. Sorry about that. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the addendum to the 2010 Rancho Del Oro Estates Certified EIR and Mitigation Monitoring Report Program as set forth in the attachment F of the state report packet.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
I have a first from Mr. DiMattei, a second from Mr. Johnson, so a vote from Mr. Cannon, please.
Yes.
Mr. DiMattei?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Woodward?
Yes.
Mr. Herzog?
Yes.
Mr. Sevison?
Yes.
Mr. Hauge?
Yes.
Thank you.
Second, I'd like to approve the Rancho Del Oro tentative subdivision map modification as shown in attachment D of the staff report packet, subject to the modified conditions of approved contained in attachment E of the staff report packet.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
I have a first from Mr. DiMattei, a second from Mr. Johnson, so a vote from Mr. Cannon.
Yes.
Mr. DiMattei?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Woodward?
Yes.
Mr. Herzog?
Yes.
Mr. Sevison?
Yes.
Mr. Hauge?
Yes.
Thank you.
The decision of the Planning Commission may be appealed by anyone who appeared at today's hearing and provided comment, or anyone that submitted written comments on the item. An appeal must be filed within 10 days of today's date and shall be accompanied by a filing fee of $619. The next item is a Dueling Dogs Brewery Company accessory kitchen conditional use permit. Members of the public may now raise their hands or press star 9 if you're on a phone to begin queuing in for public comment on this item, which will not begin until the item presentation is complete. Nikki Strigan, Senior Planner, will be presenting this item.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. Nikki Strigan, Senior Planner, here today to present the Dueling Dogs Brewing Company accessory kitchen or accessory use restaurant, as it states in our zoning code, conditional use permit. A little bit of background here. So the project is located, north of Highway 193. If you travel up Fowler Road and Garden Bar Road, it's just north of Wise Road and on the east side of Barrett Park Lane. You can see the parcel in the aerial here shown in red. Zoning for the property is farm, combining minimum building site 10 acres, and it is surrounded by other properties that are zoned the same. The applicant is requesting approval of a conditional use permit to operate and construct a 220 square foot fixed commercial kitchen and a pizza oven as an accessory use restaurant related to an already existing approved farm brewery on site. You can see on this screen here, so there's development on the site already. It includes a single family residence, a 4,000 square foot agricultural building, and a 3,200 square foot brewery and winery processing building and tasting facility. So here it is on the 10-acre property, and then the inset over here shows the production facility and tasting room, and then the structure we're speaking about today, or the use we're speaking about today, would be here. This is the 220 square foot prep area, and then a pizza oven. Also on the site is an existing 1-acre hop yard, approximately 1.25 acres of mandarin trees, as well as honey for mead that is actually made on the property. So the Ag Commissioner, back when this use was originally approved, allowed those uses, those ag products, including the honey, as part of the ag determination for the beer and the mead. Let's see, so the farm brewery was effectuated when development standards from the code were met. Building permit was completed in 2018. But since that time, the Winery and Farm Brewery Ordinance was updated last June, and the code now allows for an accessory use restaurant for on-site food service and preparation subject to a conditional use permit. So the current operations, as I mentioned, include an operating and permitted farm brewery. The ag operations include hops, mandarins, and honey. The producer makes beer and mead, as I noted, and has an existing permitted tasting room. And that proposed structure that I pointed out on the site plan, that 220 square foot structure, would include a sink, refrigerator, prep table, and a working table, as well as the outdoor pizza kitchen. An accessory, the restaurant, this facility would operate with no additional staff, and it would serve existing customers. It would also operate within the current permitted hours of operation. So in our zoning code, we have a section that defines accessory use, section 1704030, and there's a 3-part test to make that determination. The use has to be clearly incidental and secondary to the principal use. It needs to be significantly smaller in area than the principal use, and it cannot change the character of the principal use. So if we take a look at the findings we have to make as far as determining that the use is accessory, staff determined that the primary use on the property, being ag production or crop production, beer and mead production, as well as the tasting room, are primary to this accessory use and clearly incidental. The square footage of the food structure, as I mentioned, is 220 square feet, as compared to, and I want to make a correction for the record, it's a 3,200 square foot building that where mead and wine is produced and where the tasting room occurs. So it's a 3,200 square foot production and tasting room, and the 220 square foot structure for prep and the pizza oven are clearly smaller in size than that. And then finally, the service and preparation of food, it doesn't inherently change the character. So we're seeing more and more that food is a sort of complementary use, or the service of food and preparation of use is complementary to these primary uses, wineries and farm breweries and so forth, and support ag marketing in general. And so the food service staff determined here that it is complementary to that primary use, and builds that local brand that is building in Placer County. In addition to the findings, staff also looked at no increase in traffic as related to who is currently served on the site today. The new construction is actually replacing up to 4 parking spaces, and those are made up on other parts of the property. So the standards for parking are met with a minimum of 50 spots available. So parking wasn't an issue. Additionally, obtaining a building permit for the structure, as well as all the food facility permit requirements from environmental health are required as part of the conditions of approval. So staff did determine that there was sort of no net impact. And so the recommendation before you today does include a categorical exemption under Class 3, new construction or conversion of small structures. So in conclusion, the staff recommendation is to find the project as categorically exempt from review under Sequa pursuant to provisions of Section 15303 of the California Environmental Quality Act, per the section on the screen in the Placer County Environmental Review Ordinance, as well as staff recommends to approve the conditional use permit to allow the accessory use restaurant related to the approved farm brewery on site, supported by the findings and the recommended conditions of approval in the staff report.
Thank you. At this time, does the applicant want to make a statement to the commission?
Good morning. Earl Stevens and Adriana Stevens, my wife, Dueling Dogs Brewing Company, Stevens Ranch. Staff has done a great job presenting everything. I'd just like to say that we've been in business for 3 years now. We have a great agro-tourism business. You cannot make money on ag. Very difficult to make money on ag in Placer County more. So we're able to leverage the mandarins, the hops, the honey, etc., into a product and actually do a lot of education at the same time. We actually have Sierra College come out and do soils classes on our place and things of that nature. So we've been able to develop a nice family-friendly atmosphere. I'll answer any questions if you have any.
All right. So at this time, commission have questions of staff or the applicant.
Is the kitchen attached or detached, or is the building already there? Or are you using existing?
We traditionally have food trucks come in on the weekends and sometimes on Friday nights. We have a graded parking lot there with about We have a graded parking lot there with about 3 feet of asphalt base there, well compacted, and we're just going to be basically placing a slab on grade and then putting like a pre-engineered tough shed building on it, as an example. Then the pizza oven will be outside of that, and it's just simply going to be, because we're in California and you have to have a prep kitchen, you have to have the floor sink, the hand wash sink, the 3-compartment dishwashing sink, and the food prep sink, and a fridge. So we have to have a building purely for the prep kitchen.
So it'll be detached from your tasting room?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, that was all. Thank you.
Sure.
Other questions the commission has? All right. If not, thank you so much, and we'll open it up, public hearing. First of all, those in the audience.
Lori Lewis, Wise and Gold Hill. What the county failed to mention is you've got Wise Villa half a mile from that, which is a full-time restaurant. Grover Lee said he was going to start off with a pizza oven, and now he's a full-time restaurant. He doesn't need to do agriculture because he makes his money doing weddings in the restaurant. County doesn't mention density, so my agriculturally zoned area is now turning into commercial restaurants, and they're using the component as agriculture to exploit that. They do not mention the effects of water, opening a restaurant. My neighbor's his well is going dry, and he lives next to Pizzazz Winery. It's real. It's real. He mentioned dishwasher. He mentions food. As I said before the commission when I came here, to make 1 gallon of beer, it takes 10 gallons of water. This is not municipal water. This is domestic well water. This is sucking my aquifer dry. And now you want to the applicant is asking for a restaurant a half a mile from a full-time restaurant now. I'm sorry, there was no guarantee when he decided to brew beer. We didn't promise him that he could make a wonderful living. He chose to do that. And this is his choice. So why should I sacrifice my zoning of agriculture to make it easier for him that he doesn't have to pick the hops and that he can just serve food and have weddings? This is unfair and it's getting out of control. And with this drought coming, if my well goes dry, somebody's going to pay, because I've been screaming, I've been the town crier on this, and everybody's turned a deaf ear. It's about time you guys start listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? And do we have anyone on Zoom? With that, we'll close the public hearing and, we have, the public hearing is opened again for Mr. Garabedian.
Mr. Garabedian, please state your name. You'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Mike Garabedian, Placer County tomorrow. I just want to express my support for the last speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. With that, we will close the... just a minute. Okay, one more.
Cheryl, please state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, thank you. My name is Cheryl Berkema in Granite Bay. I would like to echo my support for Ms. Lewis also. When we first heard about the winery and brewery ordinance, there was a ton of public feedback and it was all ignored. The wineries and breweries met with the planners, backdoor meetings, and this stuff was passed without any input from the people that actually have to live. This is supposed to be an ag community. We're supposed to support ag. I think it's great that they have a business, but it's not the business that was intended for that acreage. If every parcel does this, we are going to be in trouble with water. If you look at the groundwater, I realize there's 2 different sections, but we have people from the county stating there's no problem with water. That is in direct conflict with the state of emergency that are being issued for counties all across California. Can we really afford to have those types of businesses? If you look at Southern California, wineries are no longer even being allowed. I hope you would learn from the decades of misuse and overuse in an area that's had to deal with it. It's not that we don't want wineries. We don't want overuse and recreational uses on top of those types of things. This is just the beginning, and I hope you'll take serious consideration on what the zoning was intended for and for the property owners that have to survive with agriculture. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we'll wait just a second. Any more hands?
Mr. Smith, please state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Richard Smith. I commented earlier on the Del Oro project, and I'd like to comment on this one as well. I was not advised of this meeting, right? And I should have been, since I am the neighbor property owner. As I said before, right, out of the 24 people I talked to about the Del Oro project,
you're discussing a project that is
notified.
Closed. So if you would like to discuss the dueling dogs, then we can talk about that.
I am. If you give me a moment, the traffic that's going to be considered having this new Del Oro project, as well as having the winery around the corner, is going to be detrimental to the Olive Ranch Road, which has not been maintained or improved upon in the 15 years that I've lived here. Now, there's an issue with that because culverts haven't been addressed, right? And you're going to have a lot of weight from the commercial vehicles going to and from a commercial winery, not alone the weddings and rock concerts that they plan on having at this venue. And on top of that, the individuals that own the property of the Sierra Winery, right, actually are residents of New York, and they plan on coming out here, get the winery going and going back.
We're talking about a totally different location. We're in Lincoln. We're not in Granite Bay.
Oh, I apologize since I was not notified. Again. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more? All right. With that, the public hearing is closed, and we would ask the applicant and the staff to respond to the comments that were made.
Well, applicant has a water, you have a water engineering background? Okay, so I'll let him handle water stuff. No, as far as this turning into something else, if this use were expanded, a modification of the CUP would have to occur. So that I'll tackle that one. The concept of a density of these uses, or a lot of these uses coming in. So I did work on the winery and farm brewery ordinance EIR. We made some assumptions about how many are permitted per year, and we conservatively stated in that EIR that 1.5 are permitted per year. I mean, we probably get 0 to 1 done in a year, realistically. A lot of inquiries, certainly, about coming to Placer County and starting a winery or a farm brewery, but actually through the permitting process, meeting all the development standards, much fewer. I'll have you tackle the water issue I've heard come up. Our EIR also did address that. I can't recite exactly exactly the details in the water supply section, but I think our applicant speak to how water is used on his property.
All right, thank you.
Hello again. I can honestly say I have an extensive background in water. I'm a registered civil engineer of the state of California, and I have worked on most of the large projects, including the Indian casino reservations on their water rights and water supply. That having been said, we have 2 wells on the property. One produces over 150 gallons per minute. The other one produces over 45 gallons per minute. We have 6 minor inches of NID water that comes onto the property. Most of it infiltrates. Our ducks and dogs use the rest of it that we don't use for irrigation of our mandarins and hops. We have a public permitted water supply well. It is a public well that we have to have meters on. We have to record and submit to the state of California monthly readings. We know exactly how much water we use in the brewery. Now, water, sure, it goes into the brewery. It also goes into people. People use the restrooms on site. It goes back into the ground. Number 2, any of our wastewater that we use for the brewing process goes into a gray water tank and is used for irrigation on site through a wastewater permit through the state of California Regional Water Quality Control Board. So the only water we're losing is a little bit of off-site sales, and what people don't use the restrooms on site and leave with us, I guess you might say. So as the records will show, we use less than a gallon per minute, which is less than 1,440 gallons per day of water on that site, and most of it goes back into the ground.
Thank you. Any questions of the commission? All right, if not, we'll take it back to the commission for discussion and a motion.
I'd like to make a motion.
Could you put the motions back up, Nikki?
They're up
Oh,
there.
there they are.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Oh, can they put them on our screen?
Oh.
I can't see that.
I
don't have my 3D glasses on.
I'd like to recommend that we find that the project is categorically exempt from the review under Sequa pursuant to provisions of sections 15303 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines and section 18.36.050E of the Placer County Environmental Review Ordinance, Class 3, new construction or conversion of small structures.
I'll second that.
We have a first and second. Roll call, please.
I have a first from Mr. Herzog, a second from Mr. DiMattei, so a vote from Mr. Cannon, please.
Yes.
Mr. DiMattei?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Woodward?
Yes.
Mr. Herzog?
Yes.
Mr. Sevison?
Yes.
Mr. Hauge?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'd like to further move that we approve the conditional use permit to allow the accessory use restaurant related to the approved farm brewery on-site supported by the findings and recommended conditions of approval contained in the staff report.
I will second that.
We have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
That was a first from Mr. Herzog and a second from Mr. DiMattei. So a vote for Mr. Cannon, please.
Yes.
Mr. DiMattei?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Woodward?
Yes.
Mr. Herzog?
Yes.
Mr. Sevison?
Yes.
And Mr. Hauge?
Yes.
Thank you.
The decision of the Planning Commission may be appealed by anyone who appeared at today's hearing and provided comment or anyone that submitted written comments on this item. An appeal must be filed within 10 days of today's date and shall be accompanied by a filing fee of $619. With that, the meeting is adjourned.